On the evening of April 14, 1865, laughter echoed through Ford's Theater. President Abraham Lincoln sat in the presidential box enjoying the comedy Our American Cousin. The Civil War was finally over. The Union had been saved. For the first time in years, America could breathe. But before the night was over, a single gunshot would silence that laughter. A moment of joy would turn into one of the darkest nights in American history. John Wilkes Booth, a famous actor and Confederate sympathizer, slipped behind the president's chair, aimed, and fired. That bullet didn't just end a presidency, it shattered the heart of a nation. Yet in that theater, among the crowd of 2,000, sat one tiny witness, a 5-year-old boy who saw it all. His name was Samuel James Seymour. Samuel James Seymour was born March 28, 1860, in Talbot County, Maryland. He grew up during the Civil War, when the nation was divided and uncertain. One day his godmother, Mrs. Goldsborough, invited him on a trip to Washington, D.C. It was a rare treat, a night at the theater. For little Samuel, it was pure adventure. They took their seats in the balcony, just across from the president's box. He remembered seeing Lincoln walk in, tall, gentle, smiling, waving to the crowd. People cheered, not because he was a celebrity, but because he was hope. Then, as the play began, laughter filled the hall, until a thunderous crack tore through the air. Samuel saw the president slump forward. He saw a man leap from the balcony and crash onto the stage below. But the 5-year-old didn't understand. He thought the man who fell was hurt. He felt sorry for him. Only later did he learn the truth. The man he pitied was John Wilkes Booth, and the man who slumped forward was Abraham Lincoln. Years passed. The boy grew into a man. He became a carpenter, a husband, a father. He built homes in Baltimore and watched as the nation he'd seen broken began to rebuild. But deep inside, the memory of that night never left him. Samuel once said that the moment haunted his dreams. He'd wake up seeing the flash of the gun, hearing the screams, feeling the confusion of a child in a world suddenly gone mad. He never sought fame. He never spoke of it for almost 90 years. Then, in 1954, a journalist named Francis Spatz Layton interviewed him, and the world finally heard his story. 2 years later, in 1956, Samuel J. Seymour appeared on a national game show, I've Got a Secret. His secret was simple and unbelievable. I saw John Wilkes Booth shoot Abraham Lincoln. He was 95 years old. His head was bandaged from a fall, but he sat upright, calm and humble. The host asked him to tell his story, and the studio went silent.
I've got a secret. I would like to go over and personally escort our next guest on the show tonight. Now then, sir, will you tell our panel, please, let's get in a little closer. Do you mind if I pull you in, sir? There we go. Will you tell our panel, please, what your name is and where you're from?
My name's Samuel J. Seymour. I'm from Maryland.
This is Mr. Seymour from Maryland. And we brought Mr. Seymour all the way up from Maryland, and by golly, he got in a hotel and fell down the steps and gave himself a shiner. And we urged him not to come on the show tonight, as a matter of fact, and finally got in touch with his doctor, and the doctor said it was up to Mr. Seymour. Mr. Seymour said he wouldn't miss it. So here he is, and feeling a party for the day. Now then, Mr. Seymour, how old are you, by the way, sir?
96.
96 years old. Now, sir, if you'll whisper your secret to me, I'm sure the folks at home would like to know what it is. Well, now to help classify his secret, I will tell you it concerns something that he witnessed. And Bill Cullen, we'll start with you. Something that he saw happen.
This thing that Mr. Seymour saw, does it have historical significance?
Does this have historical significance, Mr. Seymour? I would say yes, wouldn't you, sir?
I can't hear him very good. You have to tell me what it is.
Yeah, there's quite a distance between our desks here. Let's all speak up, huh?
Does it have political significance?
It had political significance at the time.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, if you're 96, that would make Mr. Seymour born in 1860.
Henry is such a mathematician.
Yeah, he's been writing over there all the time. This thing, did it have anything to do with the Civil War, Mr. Seymour?
No, it had not to do with the Civil... Well, let's say indirectly it was concerned with the Civil War.
Did it
all right, an answer?
Did it concern a famous person in American history? Very well-known person.
Did it concern a famous person, Mr. Seymour?
Yeah.
Yep.
Would it help me to know who this person was?
What did you say?
He wants to know if it would help him to know who this person was, and he has to know who that is, yes.
Did this man hold political office?
Did this man hold political office, sir?
Yeah.
Yes. $20 down and $60 to go, and we go to Jane Meadows.
McKinley.
Mr. Seymour,
Henry
Would
is
he-
being his usual helpful self by whispering to Jane, McKinley.
and I'm not listening. Mr. Seymour, would this person have ever been President of the United States?
Was he ever president, this man?
Oh, I think it was once.
Would
He
it
was.
have been Abraham Lincoln?
It was Abraham Lincoln, yes.
You witnessed something to do with Abraham Lincoln. Was this a pleasant thing?
Was it a pleasant thing you saw, sir?
Not very pleasant, I don't think. I
No.
was scared to death over it.
He said, no, he was scared to death.
Would it have had anything to do with the President Lincoln's death, by any chance?
Unfortunately, yes.
Did Mr. Seymour witness the shooting of President Lincoln?
We found out about Mr. Seymour through a recent article in the American Weekly, and it said, I saw Lincoln shot. And this article is by Samuel J. Seymour, and it goes on to say that Mr. Seymour was 5 years old at the time. He had been taken to Ford's Theater by some good friends, and the curious thing was that when he was this youth, 5 years of age, when he saw Booth jump from the box to the stage, at which time he broke his leg, his only concern was not for the president, because he didn't realize that the president had been shot, but the poor man who fell out of the balcony. And that's all of his memory is of going to the theater and seeing a man fall out of the balcony. Sir, it's been a great joy and you might say an honor to have you are, by the way, the only living witness of that tragic event. And we are certainly going to forfeit the complete $80 to you just for your courage in coming here to see us tonight.
He said, "I saw Lincoln slumped forward in his seat. I saw a man jump to the stage. I was scared to death." The audience laughed gently, then grew quiet. They were staring at living history, a bridge between the 19th century and their own living rooms. Samuel Seymour passed away just 2 months later, on April 12, 1956, almost exactly 91 years after Lincoln's death. Historians still debate his memory. He was only 5 years old, and he spoke of the event nearly 90 years after it happened. There's no surviving record of his name in the theater that night, but that doesn't erase the emotional truth he carried. Whether every detail was accurate or not, his recollection gives us something deeper. A child's eye view of tragedy, the innocence that witnessed history's cruelty and never let go. When Samuel Seymour spoke, America listened, not because he proved something new, but because he reminded us how close our past really is. The man who saw Lincoln die also saw the dawn of television. One life, bridging 2 centuries, a living witness to the birth and rebirth of a nation. Today, Ford's Theater stands preserved as a memorial. Visitors whisper in reverence, peering into the same box where Lincoln took his final breath. And somewhere in that silence, you can almost hear the echo of a child's gasp, the moment history burned itself into a young boy's mind. Samuel J. Seymour never sought fame or fortune. He said he simply wanted people to remember the man who died for unity and the boy who carried that memory for the rest of his life. This is the story of the last witness to the assassination of Abraham Lincoln. Samuel James Seymour, 1860 to 1956. Not very pleasant, I don't think. I was scared to death. To understand the weight of Samuel Seymour's memory, we must revisit that night. April 14, 1865. Lincoln attended Our American Cousin with his wife, Mary Todd Lincoln, and 2 guests, Major Rathbone and Clara Harris. The play was lighthearted, a satire about British manners. But in the shadows of the theater, Booth prepared his pistol, a single-shot Derringer. At about 10:15 p.m., during a line that guaranteed laughter from the audience, Booth slipped into the presidential box, fired, and struck the president behind the left ear. Lincoln never regained consciousness. He was carried across the street to the Peterson House, where he died at 7:22 a.m. the next morning. The country plunged into mourning. Church bells tolled, flags hung in black. But somewhere in that wave of grief was a frightened little boy who had simply gone to see a play. Samuel would later tell his children that what frightened him most was not the gunshot, but the scream of Mary Lincoln. He remembered being rushed out of the theater by his nurse, watching as men shouted orders, and chaos erupted in the street. Decades later, when Samuel looked back, he could hardly believe the world he'd lived through. From oil lamps to electric light, from horse-drawn carriages to airplanes, from the Civil War to World War II, he had seen everything, yet he was forever known for a single night. Psychologists today call this flashbulb memory, when trauma burns a moment into the mind with painful clarity. For Samuel, that night in Ford's Theater became a silent companion that never left him. When he finally appeared on television, millions of Americans watched in awe. It was as if the 19th century had walked into their living rooms. They weren't just watching a game show, they were looking at history made flesh. In his quiet, trembling voice, Seymour reminded a modern world of how fragile memory can be, and how quickly time carries our tragedies away. He died in Arlington, Virginia, surrounded by family. At his funeral, there were no reporters, no headlines, just a handful of relatives who knew that their father and grandfather had once been part of a moment that changed a nation. The story of Samuel J. Seymour is not just about what he saw. It's about what he remembered. It reminds us that history is not ancient. It lives inside the people who witness it. Through him, the night of April 14, 1865 does not feel so distant. Every generation carries its witnesses, those who saw the unthinkable, those who remember so that we never forget. And so, when you stand inside Ford's Theater today, beneath the soft glow of its lamps and the hush of its walls, you might feel a presence, perhaps not of Booth or Lincoln, but of a child who was there when it happened, a child who grew old carrying the memory of a fallen president. Samuel James Seymour, born March 28, 1860, died April 12, 1956, the last witness to Lincoln's assassination. "Not very pleasant, I don't think," he said. "I was scared to death."